Peace and love, everyone. It's your girl, Karina. Welcome to this quick talk on the Mercury retrograde that is happening in Libra. And if you haven't noticed, I've been dropping some videos at a fast rate regarding the transits of this week because this Libra new moon really signifies a very pivotal moment in the astrology for 2021, showcasing a major phase, a portal that we're going to go through. And this Mercury retrograde, even though minor, can show us some of the flavors, some of the attitude, the swag, and the mentality that we might want to have as we enter into this realm. Okay? And so I wanted to title this for you guys, Act Like a Man, Think Like a Lady. Now, it's inspired by the Steve Harvey book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. And the concept of the book is to still be, a lady, but consider how men process information, what men want, what they look for in a woman. That was the concept and the training that came from this book. And I feel that the flip of this message is so appropriate for Mercury retrograde in Libra. And so I was very excited to do this video just because of this title. But let's talk about some of the concepts when we look at Libra that I want to introduce to you, especially if you are tuned into my channel, because I have a very important series called Venus is Not as Feminine as You Think, and it considers the origins of Venus not being as deeply attached to true feminine principles as you might think. And in fact, a true darkness or mystery to Venus would be that it is coming from masculine energy, okay? And so when we look now at the Mercury retrograde that is in Libra, we can actually look at this concept of flipping, right? We can look at the idea of flipping mentalities, flipping roles, right? And we can look at the idea of exchanging that feminine and masculine within the way that we act and the way that we think. So where Mercury retrograde is happening in your chart is where Libra would be in your chart. And this is where we can embody the flipped concept of acting like a man, but thinking like a woman, thinking like a lady. And thinking like a lady is going to be the most appropriate terminology for this concept. And so what I want to introduce to you is how Mercury is in a very political and diplomatic state. But again, Mercury is a messenger, and Mercury is our comprehension. And so Mercury being in Libra wants us to penetrate the mind of the feminine. And so there is a gateway. There is an ability to penetrate that mind, to understand that mind with Mercury retrograde in Libra. But is it the truest mind of the feminine? No, I'm not going to say that it is the truest mind of the feminine. But what Mercury in Libra does, and this is very important, so I really want you guys to get this. This is not a talk in circles. What Mercury in Libra actually makes us do, hold on, follow me here because I'm going to take it slow. What Mercury RX in Libra actually allows us to do is penetrate the mind of what it's like to be a woman in a masculine world. That is the true gateway of Venus. What it is like to be a woman in the order of a masculine concept of beauty, a masculine concept of hierarchy in beauty and in finances and all of those material gains and traits that we lust for and desire. As Venus is truly lust, okay, a need for dopamine, a need for sugar. And so when we look at Libra, we are really trying to balance out the true energies of what Venus is supposed to bring us. This is why Libra is a Venusian sign, and is quite often assigned to be the feminine sign, but there's a lot of masculinity that is evident in the energies of Libra. Okay, and so we have to play with this flipping of the energies. And the way that we do it is to recognize that we all have it. We all have the capability of thinking like a man or thinking like a woman, right? Because the way that we think is not inherently what makes us man and woman. The way that we think is how we translate how other people think. The way that comprehension works is that it's a translation of that sort. And Mercury retrograde is a retranslation. It's a re-looking back, a re-negotiating, a reversal of the roles, of the dominant energies, and where feminine may dominate over masculine and where masculine may dominate over feminine. So where Mercury RX is in your chart is where I encourage you to try to act like a man and think like a lady. This is about moving in a way that is still logical, but also thinking how it impacts emotions, how it impacts the needs of others. How is it considering the needs of others? Because to think like a woman, to think like a feminine, is to simply consider the other. And Libra is the sign that rules over us. We are, me and you, one-on-one, us together, right? In a contractual agreement. Mercury in Libra is bringing out the consideration of others. And so this is allowing us to dive in the process of a feminine mind. It gives us a taste. It's like the tip of the iceberg. You still can't see the whole thing. But the biggest thing is that you get to look and get some insight into how a woman thinks, or how a feminine, dominant person would think. Okay? What is it that they would need? How would they process love? That Steve Harvey book talks a lot about, what men respect, what men don't respect. What do you think women and feminine dominant or feminine healthy, feminine balanced, divine feminine balanced beings, right? What do you think that they think? How do they measure value in a person, right? How do they measure respect in a person? What is it that feminine mind, that quick insight into the feminine mind, the translation of the feminine mind that Mercury RX will bring for us? What do you think are the struggles that the feminine mind deals with? Where in your chart is Libra and Mercury retrograde? Because this is where you're getting that insight. And you're being called to look back. You're being called to look back at balance. You're no longer fighting right now toxic masculinity with this energy. This energy is balancing it out on so many fronts because the universe is taking care of us. It's not about having to fight as much as it may seem like it is, as much as it's about acknowledging. It's about being somebody who can listen. It's about being somebody that has introspective desire to want to know how another person operates and what the needs of another person are. This very act in needing to know what someone needs is what Mercury RX and Libra is going to be all about. So you can act tough. You can act Libra gangster tough. That's what Libra embodies in a lot of ways because of the dichotomy, the flip of Libra's feminine and masculine energies. The entire Libra chart is the opposite of the natural order of the zodiac sign. So we're really just using Libra to measure out what is our capacity to think like a lady. What is our capacity to think of others, to think about, not to say that only women think of others, but what is our capacity to be more considerate, to be more nourishing? What does it look like for you? What are the lessons in choosing to think like a woman versus think like a man? These are the very actual themes that we are addressing. So if we go through the actual placements of where Mercury is going to be, right? Let's go ahead and pull that out real quickly for you. Okay, so where Mercury is going to be in the first house, you're renegotiating and mediating on the flip of thinking like a woman, acting like a man, when it comes to your actual presentation of self and body image and how you impress others, right? So how it is that you showcase yourself, you might develop some more masculine attitudes or ways of moving, right? Acting like a man, ways of acting that are actually embodying some of the masculine traits that you can pull from, right? But then thinking still about compassion, pleasing others, considering others' needs, even though you're putting yourself, your actual image, in a more masculine attitude. And this may be something that we just play with during like the phase that we're in. So in the second house, it's negotiating and mediating, right? How we move like a man and think like a woman in regards to our money. So there might be a way that you act in regards to making money or handling your money that will embody more masculine traits. But in thinking about it, you might consider how you can beautify things, or buy things that would beautify things, or buy things that would, even if it's simple, like getting a new new type of checkbook, right? Making your checkbook look nice, working on your signature when you write your own checks. So it could be more in bringing in the eloquence and the elegance, a grace to how you think about your money. Now, Mercury RX in the third house is negotiating and mediating, right, with your friends and your neighbors in regards to how you want to act with them in embodying maybe some more masculine traits. You may be wanting to act and negotiate with how you communicate, right? Maybe you need to be more logical in your communicating and how you're acting to initiate communication. And then because this is also the thinking house, right? How you're thinking or how you're speaking could be something that you think about your intonations. You think about how it lands, right? Are you speaking sweetly, or are you being too harsh? These might be things that Libra energy would introduce to you to act like a man but think like a woman. And the fourth house is with the family member, so it might be acting a certain way, like putting on a certain front, right, that is maybe more masculine, or maybe embodying authority, or a male, or your actual father. But then thinking still about what are the beautifying needs of your house, what are the bonding needs and relational needs that your family members need from you. In the fifth house, Mercury RX is negotiating, mediating with your romantic lovers. And so you may be acting more masculine with romantic lovers, maybe seeing them as classifications, right, from that more masculine place, right, or acting with them as such, right, maybe not bonding too quickly, but then mediating in the sense of bringing on a more feminine mindset of caring about how maybe some relationships that don't last may end, maybe making more of an effort to have more closure in the fifth house. In the sixth house, Mercury retrograde is negotiating and mediating with your coworkers, in which you may be acting in a willful space that shows or a swag. Like when I say acting, it's like a swag or attitude that may show a nonchalant, or may show actually a lot of ambition, right? And then you still might be thinking about, well, how is it that this is still deeply connected to how I can nurture the other people, or how can I bring the people who work with me up with me as I am ambitious? That would be acting like a man but thinking like a woman with Mercury RX in the sixth house. In the seventh house, it's negotiating, and mediating with long-term partnerships. So you might be acting, right, putting on a front or an attitude or a swag with long-term partnerships that maybe are more, again, more logical, or trying to approach it with less emotion, honestly. But then still thinking about, very similar to the fifth house, what the needs of the other, are the others getting their equally needs met in the contract? Are things at a win-win? In the eighth house, negotiating and mediating with sex partners, morticians and counselors. So this might be dealing with the part of acting toward your sexual life, or even just your, your desires, in a way in which maybe you're embracing it, right, in a way that allows you to be more penetrating. Okay, that would be acting or having attitude of a masculine nature, but then still thinking about the intimacy part that is necessary in the eighth house of sex and bonding. And then in the ninth house, it's negotiating, mediating with your higher self and your teachers and tourists. So you might be acting more logical, maybe not having as much excuses. This might be something that happens in the ninth house, trying to own your own spiritual or physical or whatever, or even mental accountability, right? But then still thinking about, well, how it is that I can relate to people outside of my bubble of faith and belief sets. That would be thinking more like feminine, because you're integrating yourself even if you don't agree. The 10th house would be negotiating, mediating with the boss. So that would be acting, right? Maybe like a boss, acting like that cliche masculine archetypal authority figure, but still thinking about, are my employees, are my assistants, are my secretaries, are they happy working for me? That would be acting like a man, thinking like a woman, with Mercury retrograde in the 10th house. And then Mercury retrograde in the 11th is negotiating, mediating with your friends, organizers, and fans. So this might be deeply connected to acting towards your friends and your fans in a way in which you might be aloof from them, but still thinking about what they want to get from you next, right, would be the thing, because it's still in that people pleasing place of the feminine mind, considering what the feminine needs in the masculine world. And then Mercury RX in the 12th house is negotiating and mediating with ancestors, angels, and the devils. And so this might be acting a way in which you're being a superhero, being a fantasy player, right? Being the one that saves others. That might be a divine masculine archetype you choose, or could choose. And then maybe you're thinking more in a feminine way, in which you're also tying in the fact that your ancestors are supporting you, the angels are supporting you. You're not just doing it alone. You're not a superhero that everything is on your shoulders. You are divinely protected by the unseen world. And that would be acting like a man and thinking like a woman, with Mercury RX in the 12th house. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you and see you in the next video.